Yes, JJ Coyle, my gran fratello Owen Luciano, back. Italia 2, Ukraine 1, 2-1, massive victory 3 days after the North Macedonia draw 1-1 away from home. Italy needed it, and it puts us back on track for Euro 2024 qualification next year. Luciano Spaletti turning a new page for the Azzurri. How did you find them two fixtures?
Well, I think the first one against North Macedonia, when you have a look at it, really the 1-1's disappointing. You fancy Italy to beat them, but when you had a look at the actual game, they had more shots on target than we did. Although we controlled the game, had large proportions of possession, but I thought they played a lot better than they did last time when they played against Italy. But Italy was obviously under new management, just feeling the way in. I think tonight against the Ukraine, different story. I think Italy have come out on the front foot. They've been more aggressive. Still about 700 passes, something like that. So they've definitely controlled the game, but with more impetus, I think, in getting forward, being a bit more attacking, and they could have had more goals tonight, definitely.
I mean, the selections for the North Macedonia game, he had his hands tied behind his back in terms of Verratti, Jorginho unavailable for selection, and Pellegrini, Chiesa having to go home. Big hits to take with a new team. How were you with the starting lineup? So I'll just run through it again with you. We had Donnarumma, Di Lorenzo, Di Marco, Bastoni, Mancini, Tonali, Cristante, Barella, Politano, Immobile, who was captain, and Zaccagni called back into the fold. I mean, was there anything you were looking at when you saw that starting lineup and you thought, I'm not happy with, I don't want to see, or did you like the direction?
Well, I liked it. I thought a lot of them players are very similar players to who Mancini had picked. I mean, obviously, you've had the Bonucci situation now. He's moved out of there. So now we're starting to see what Italy's defence is going to look like. Mancini's always been tipped, though, to come into the fold and do a good job. And he has been good for Roma. And obviously...
He's got a mistake in him, though, hasn't he? I mean, tonight we saw Scalvini in there. And
he's not Harry Maguire, though, is he? Come on.
No, he's not. I mean, but when I look at Mancini, he looks like he can make a difference with a pass sometimes or with a goal. But defensively, I feel like he's gonna give something at times where I trust Bastoni, and I'm almost looking for that partner. And it was nice to see Scalvini in there today, because I'm wondering long term if that's what it's going to be.
I think with Mancini, I think when you look over the years and when you've got a partnership at the back that's always been successful. Italy have had Canas and Nesta, Baresi, Maldini. They've had these great partnerships over the year. And I think you need that dynamic. You've got... Italy can produce a flair defender, someone who can carry the ball, pass the ball. You expect them to be technically sound, but you also need a bit of brute in there, a bit of steel. And I think that Mancini-Bastoni is a nice compliment. I see Bastoni as a bit more graceful in terms of the way he is on the ball and how he defends. I think Mancini's if you compare him to United, it's almost like the Vidic, Ferdinand type role. You'd say Bastoni in terms of the way he carries the ball, and then Mancini's a bit more physical. So...
Well, Bastoni, I trust Bastoni, and obviously we need to see how his career develops, but I think he's got all the attributes to be that guy. I'm not fully convinced by Mancini, but...
Well, he's still young, isn't he? He's only just come into the team. Don't forget, you've had Bonucci and Chiellini.
Exactly, and that's what I was going to say. We need to see that next wave and how that's going to mesh, but I certainly just did not want to see Bonucci again. And he's not been playing for Juventus. If you're not playing for Juventus and you're not getting any game time, how can you be just walking into the team a bit like Maguire? Even though Bonucci obviously played his role when we won the Euros, but that's something that I don't like with managers that stay on for a while, that they have the favourites, and there's no longer that competing for an opportunity. Okay, so in the midfield, Cristante, Tonali, Barella. I mean, Tonali's made a pretty decent start for Newcastle, but Newcastle themselves struggling. Cristante is going to be a bit physical, but he doesn't have that requisite quality in the middle. And obviously, Barella probably the pick of the bunch. Like, were you happy with that midfield? I felt like Frattesi, who obviously proved his worth, was worth a shot anyway because of what he's delivered in previous games. He's looked energetic, passionate, good movement, gets his shots off, been scoring goals, looked a threat.
I think with the midfield, it's difficult because you've had Verratti in there. Arguably, there's nobody really like him. He's such a dynamic midfielder. So you've had him in there, and if he's fit and available to play, you'd like to think that he's number one choice. That's Verratti. Then
would you still go to him? Would you still go to him if he's in Qatar? Because we know that Conte wasn't picking players when they were in the MLS.
Verratti, in terms of his quality, is arguably one of the best midfielders in the world for me. But obviously, he's left PSG now. He's gone to Qatar. But having said that, what about the players that have gone to Saudi Arabia or have gone to different other leagues? Is Messi still not a quality player because he plays in America? At the end of the day, where he plays, for me, isn't relevant. I think the issue with Verratti is his lifestyle. There's rumours that he smokes, that he parties, that he's not really taking his career that seriously. And as a footballer, I think he's wonderful. But if he wants to continue for Italy, and players like Pirlo have done it, Bonucci, Chiellini themselves, late 30s, Barzagli with late 30s, Maldini. Italy will play these legends, but they have to be up to par. And I just think with Verratti, that's the only issue because I still think he's young enough to add something to the team, that experience as well.
I think anyone who knows my opinions on Verratti knows that for me, he's probably been Italy's best player for the last, since 2015, really, since picking up the baton from Pirlo. And every time he's put on an Italy shirt, I think he's a one-man midfield. Obviously, he can't do it all by himself. But I think the real value, when the chips were down and we needed somebody, I felt like he shifted the balance at Wembley last time against England and helped us into them situation, a goal down at Wembley, relieve the pressure and take command in the game. And that was his kind of.
I think though under Mancini, I think it wasn't just about Verratti because Verratti started off as on the bench. It was about how Mancini wanted to play football, and he had a system there that suited Verratti. Like I don't like Verratti playing left wing. I want Verratti in the centre of the midfield, getting the ball, keeping things ticking over. But look at the other two midfielders that he had with him. He had Jorginho, who I've never really rated, if I'm honest. But in that Euros, for Italy, the way Verratti was on the bench and he had to pick the ball up off the centre-backs and play that ball forward, I thought he was quality. And then on top of it, you've got kind of like up-and-coming superstar in Barella, who I think lived up to the billing. So I think with Verratti, yeah, he has been quality, but I think under Mancini in particular, he was allowed to flourish because he was in a system with other players. I mean, with a triangle of Barella, Jorginho, and Verratti, you're going to control the game.
Yeah, I mean, where I slightly differ with the opinions is that for me, I don't feel like he needs a system. I feel like Verratti, you put him anywhere. He knows what to do with the ball. He knows what to do without the ball. The only question I've got with Verratti, I know there was that spell under Prandelli. Is he going to be more of a 10? Can he give you more of like the final ball or a bit of end product? I mean, he's come off the bench. Did he score against Holland in one of his early games for a late equaliser? And can he transition that ability he has in the middle of the park further forward? And can he avoid getting needless yellow cards that can lead to red cards? These were my concerns. But in the final against England, why I feel like that was his coming out party, because you're always waiting, but it's for these big moments. And in that final, after 2 minutes, we were goal down after 2 minutes. England are trying to press us. And Verratti was the guy that just took control of the game, in my opinion, to a point where they couldn't press him anymore. I felt like England still had a good control in terms of the defensive phase of the pitch, in terms of like, we couldn't penetrate them. But on a midfield side, the whole control element, I felt like Verratti gave us that back. But I do feel like the Euros overall was a success for Mancini. I felt like Mancini's system drove that title with a team that probably batted above its average, in my opinion. And we've seen that mean out really with the two failures to qualify for the World Cup.
I think with Verratti, it's obvious that it's clear that we both like him, but I just think that he's not just one man on his own. I don't think Italy are going to win. We're going to win anything with just having Verratti there. I think you needed them pieces alongside him. I mean, arguably, we didn't have a striker for the Euros, and we still won it.
What did you think of Ciro Immobile getting the captain's armband? Because I know I felt like, not this again. You know, I was happy to see Bonucci out of the team. I saw Immobile with the captain. I felt like we've seen this movie against North Macedonia, at home, World Cup qualifier. And, Mancini putting his eggs in his basket and saying, take me there. And Spalletti doing the same thing, but he did get a goal. You know, he always works hard. You've got to give him his credit for his work. I feel like we've seen the movie. I want to move on and see what the next film is. He's 33 years old. He's 34 next February. How long do you persist with him? You know, but, we don't have a plethora of strikers, do we, at the end of the day? I mean, what did you think of Immobile with the armband?
Immobile is not my type of player. He's too inconsistent. If you're going to play for Italy, you need to put the ball in the back of the net. And over the years, we've had nines that have been able to do that. We've always had a 10, a flair player who can create things, and we've always had somebody who can finish up top. And for me, it's something that we've been lacking for a long time, to be fair. And I think that having Immobile up there, what it says to us is that we know he scores goals in Serie A. No one's saying that he doesn't. But in an Italy shirt, apart from some decent work rate, I'm not seeing that quality that I expect from my 9. So it just shows to me how thin on the ground we are in terms of strikers. And it's something that I've been saying till the cows come home. But if you're going into a tournament, a Euros or a World Cup, and Immobile is starting as your number 9, my expectations for Italy going forwards, with him leading the line and having the armband, unfortunately,
I'm just looking at it from Spalletti's point of view. I mean, where I wouldn't want to over criticize Spalletti is he's coming in. The fact that Zaccagna's playing as well, and they've got the relationship at Lazio, that bodes well in terms of having that chemistry there to help Zaccagna and to help Immobile himself. And when I look over the piece, it's like we have our restrictions. Who's Immobile actually competing against for the number 9 shirt? Retegay, Scamacca if he ever becomes available, Raspadori. Scamacca who's just spent a season on the bench for West Ham, and Raspadori has been on the bench for Napoli. So
Raspadori doesn't really lead the line.
He doesn't. But I'm just saying that he's not competing with a plethora of strikers. I would like to see Retegay get more opportunities. But look, ultimately, it's the first result and its importance depends on the second result. If Italy lose or draw to Ukraine today, that makes qualification for the Euros in jeopardy. But as it happens, we came out firing. Frattesi is dynamite, isn't he? He's a live wire.
Yeah, and I think with Italy, especially when they've done well in tournaments, they've always had a mixed bag of goal scorers. You need goals coming through midfield, and I think that's what Spalletti got right tonight by mixing up the midfield. Bringing Locatelli in, we look more solid in there, that's for sure. But it's just, if you look at the two results in their entirety, the North Macedonia and the Ukraine, we're not scoring millions of goals. We're creating chances. We were creating chances under Mancini. In the 2 games that we've played, we've made something like 1,300 passes in the 2 games. We've had X amount of shots, but probably shots on goal that I can remember, maybe 5 or 6 in 2 games against 2 teams that really Italy should be dominating. And I think it just shows that although we've got the pedigree as a country and we've got a quality team, we've got all the infrastructure there, the tactics, we are a good team and we've always been one of the favourites. I just think at this moment in time, expectations really on Italy should be low. I think we should qualify, and I'll be delighted if we do. But I won't be going into the tournament thinking we're going to win it. Yeah, I just want us to put our best foot forward. And to be fair, the national team, they do tend to step up in tournaments, and when the chips are against them, they do tend to rise up as well. It's that character, isn't it? So hopefully the new manager brings that to the table, and we can have something to shout about.
Yeah, I think in terms of like the defense phase is almost going to change because obviously it's the end of Bonucci phase, and what we're going to need to see is every time there's call ups, we need to keep seeing Bastoni in the team, and he needs to be fit first as well, and we need to see if there can be some sort of relationship in midfield. You know, are we going to go away from Verratti or Jorginho? Are they going to come back? Because if we lose games, you know, I'm sure we'll beat Malta. England's in the air, but we could lose that at Wembley. And you know, if it comes down to North Macedonia or Ukraine away, you know, you're going to want your best players there, aren't you? You're not going to want to play Cristante ahead of Verratti, even if Verratti's smoking somewhere in Qatar.
See, the thing is with Cristante is he's not your stereotypical Italian midfielder in terms of silky flair. He's almost English in his approach. He's physical.
Yeah.
You know, he gets around the pitch. He's box to box. You know, sort of like if we're gonna kind of compare him to his like counterpart. Obviously, not in terms of leadership qualities and things like that, but I'd say Henderson in terms of the way he plays. He gets it. He gives
absolutely.
it.
And you know,
box to box. He works hard, and I think as a manager, it's nice to have that, especially in the middle of the park. That energy, that physical stature that he brings. But as footballers, as Italian football fans, you want somebody who can play. You want somebody with and Verratti can play.
Absolutely.
He can get you out of tight spaces.
Not just
and he's world class.
You've seen the two games you had. In the first game, you had Cristante playing in the middle, and it's almost like
Mancini backed him as well, didn't he? And Mourinho's playing him.
But in terms of like Napoli's system, they had Anguissa as the deep midfielder, or Lobotka, and they had the two more cams just ahead, so they had a deeper pivot. And Cristante seems like that. For me, that guy who's sitting shouldn't be a Cristante. It should either be a Locatelli, a Verratti, a Jorginho. It's a guy who knows what to do with the ball. It's too a precarious a position to be playing that kind of, and we didn't have any. The last 20, 30 minutes of the game against North Macedonia, it had no control. Even Tonali on the pitch couldn't help us. We're giving away fouls. That's where I need my central midfielder to be more of a Locatelli than a Cristante. I'm not saying there's not a job for him, but that job should be more in the pressing, you know, supporting. And I'd rather see that job go to a Frattesi or a Barella, you know, if I'm being honest. But
I think one of the difficulties is with us in particular with that midfield role, the CDM role. It's much more than that because Pirlo changed that role for me. He changed it when he went there because it's the deeper quarterback role. Now, some of the best midfielders in the world over the last couple of decades have been able to play that role and sort of dictate passes. You know, I think back to guys like Seba Veron, Paul Scholes, Gerrard used to do it sometimes for Liverpool. You know, these type of players. And then you've got different type of CDMs. You've got your Kantes and your Casemiros. And I think that role, it just depends really on the system and the players that you've got around you who can play it. Now, I think Cristante, to have that physical box-to-box energy, might be something Spalletti is looking to bring to the fold because that is normally how he plays. That's how he played at Roma. That's how he played at Napoli. And I think that's probably what he's looking to do with the Azzurri. But, you know, for us, I watched Italy versus England. For me, on paper in the final, they had a better team than us. But I knew we were going to control that midfield with them three players in there.
No, I was confident.
I knew we were going to control the midfield.
I thought we'd win the game too.
And when you get that much ball, you know that that a chance is going to come your way. Now, don't get me wrong. I thought Bonucci's goal was relatively lucky, but I think after we got the equaliser, we should have gone on to win it in normal time. And I think they were lucky to get to penalties. That's my personal opinion. But with them type of midfielders, you're going to control the game. I think our question mark over Cristante is if he comes in there, is he going to be able to help Italy control the game? I don't really see him like he'll be able to do that on the same level as a Verratti or Jorginho, even it's Tonali. So it'll be interesting to see how they work the dynamics out. But for me, watching Italy over the last two games, North Macedonia, I thought they played a good game. We just looked a little bit anxious, and I think tonight against Ukraine, shackles were off and we saw a bit more of a clearer picture on how Italy are going to play going forward under Spalletti. So
Yeah, no, I'm
it's positive times.
The thing is, I don't. It was just a must-win game today.
Yeah.
It was an absolute must-win game, and Spalletti needed to get a positive energy back in the Azzurri and turn the page. But how you feel? You're happy that with the appointment? I suggest. I mean, Luciano. We like the name Luciano, don't we?
I like him, but I've got unfinished business with him. I've got a bit of beef with him. It's personal.
No, I get that, and I get the Totti situation. But guess what? Lippi, had the whole Baggio situation. Still got us a World Cup. I just think at this juncture he's got to be looking to get us into the Euros, particularly after this result.
What Lippi had in his locker is, first of all, even some of his treatment with Baggio. I don't know the full pitch. I don't know the full facts, so I can't really comment on Lippi to that degree. But I know the facts between Totti.
Okay, but just quick on the Lippi Baggio. So Lippi, I feel like the decision to let him go for Juventus, is a reasonable one. Del Piero's coming through the ranks, and Baggio's injury prone. As much as I loved Baggio, he's coming off a World Cup. Now I get that whole move away from Juventus, from Baggio's point of view, derailed a stable career where he'd already elevated Juventus to a brink of a Champions League.
He's the best player in the world at Juve.
Absolutely. But Del Piero went on to become Juventus, arguably their all-time greatest player.
Yeah.
And they won the Champions League the year after and were successful. So I don't think that's unreasonable. But at Inter, according to Baggio, he wanted Baggio to have his ear to the ground and rat on players, and Baggio was like, that ain't me. Then he throws him out, said he was at an injury risk, and Baggio eventually saved his job. The whole Baggio-Lippi was a disgrace with Roberto Baggio. So for me, I have my dislikes towards him, but he got everything right in the 06 World Cup, and he can't even tarnish it with how bad he was 4 years later in 2010. It was just a part of his journey. I mean, Mancini had his great success. I don't think Mancini got things as flagrantly wrong, but that Lippi going back to his favourites like Quinta, we could kind of see that with Mancini picking the same guys, that relationship, and it was like...
Managers do that, especially in international football. You don't have them as long. You build relationships with them. You have players that you can trust. We've seen it all over. We've seen it on our doorstep with Maguire.
You just, exactly. Particularly Maguire and what's Phillips. The guy in Calvin Phillips. But I mean, from our point of view, we're just looking for us to get to a Euros and not embarrass ourselves. I think that's what we're looking at. And then
we can't not be involved in the next tournament.
No, but I'm just saying, looking at it, particularly where we're at now,
but it's not a done deal.
No, it's not.
It's not a done
deal. But we just need to get to the Euros, not embarrass ourselves, and then gear up towards a World Cup. That's what everything should be at this moment in time. We've not been to two. We need to get to the next World Cup, and we need to have Barella rising. We need to have Pellegrini bubbling, Chiesa bubbling, and we need that next striker, because I don't think Immobile at 36 is going to be that guy. Now, obviously, he can't just play the next World Cup team now. We have to win games to get to that World Cup.
The thing is the future's bright, because if you look at the youth teams, there's some serious players in there. Under 16s level up.
Cassidy had a great tournament as well, didn't he?
So
under 20s.
So basically, what you're going to see, hopefully, in the next 2 or 3 years, is that some of these guys are going to start fulfilling the potential. Now, once you can sort of bring these young players through into that squad with a nice blend of experienced players, if you've got guys like Barella in the changing rooms, champions in there, Gigi Donnarumma's, these are the guys that are still going to be there with all that experience going forward. Your Chiesa's going to come back.
What about Donnarumma today?
Absolute match winner.
Donnarumma today, I mean, obviously, just flicking back on the Ukraine game, Frattesi, like you say, the live wire, the game changer, who really got us 3 points today. So thank you, Davide. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it was quality.
So, it was all about him. But DiMarco, I mean, I love his quality across him, but he's literally teed up them for a goal. Was it Yarmolenko?
He's absolutely mistake.
He's given him a goal. I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we've got a walkover win against Malta at home next time, and then a game at Wembley. It's going to be interesting to see the selection Spalletti makes. But I think long term, if he decides to go away from whatever he decides to do, at least he's a guy who wants to play attacking and he wants to be relentless and he wants to score goals. We saw that at Napoli.
Listen, let's see how he gets on. We're going to back him anyway. And then
but I think he's that type of coach. So, that you could see that particularly in this game. But I remember last season when Napoli were beating Juventus 2-1, and I was interested to see how they were going to go once they come from behind to take the lead. And they just kept going and going and going. And he was just pushing them on.
Out of the last 5 Italian coaches, who's been your least favourite?
Well, it's Ventura, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's just absolutely diabolical.
At the end of the day, we can't.
But apart from that, they've all been decent, haven't they? We tend to get these appointments. We tend to, don't make hasty decisions. We tend to get the right man in. I mean, obviously, I think we would have loved Carlo Ancelotti. I think for me, he'd be right up there.
Yeah, it's disappointing that he's not had the opportunity to manage Italy, but ultimately, Mancini took us to a place and created this beautiful story. This story of 30 years after losing the cup final with Vialli, going back there with Vialli and winning against England. Ultimately, this is such a massive memory that you can wash over with not qualify for World Cups or some performances or some team selections. But what Mancini was able to show, that with an aging back line, playing on the halfway line, could you imagine Harry Maguire playing on the halfway line for United? It's trouble, yeah? And he's got Bonucci and Chiellini on the halfway line. Chiellini clotheslining Saka, yeah? And still being able to just absolutely penning teams into their own box for large parts of his spell there. And but we're turning a page now. Unfortunately, we didn't get to the World Cup. The only thing I didn't really like about Mancini's goal is when he said we will qualify. I think he was quite assertive. We'll qualify, and then we'll have a great chance to win it. I just feel like, I know you want to build up the confidence, but let's just, there's the mental approach. You know what I mean? I wanted a different.
I've got nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't want to approach a tournament thinking I want the manager to be buoyant and confident.
I want him on the toes, though.
And I think by saying that, what it does is it encourages the team to be like, yeah, the manager's up for it. We're up for it. I think it's that. I think it was just a big rally cry from Mancini, and you can't hold that against him. But I think from Italy's point of view, is it going to be a good appointment? We'll wait to see. But based on what I've seen in the 2 games, first game shaky. Tonight was more like it, and it's just going to be interesting to see who he picks. And
when people are fit, like Pellegrini, Chiesa, Frattesi.
Is he going to keep experimenting, or is he going to... Because tonight, apart from 1 or 2, the majority of them are Mancini's.
Yeah, we've got...
It's just a continuation of his work.
Well, Zaccagni's come in, the defence is minus Bonucci, and he's obviously got no Verratti, Jorginho, Pellegrini and Chiesa. And for me, these guys need to be available, and then it's about how he chooses. But
lively tonight.
Zaniolo just needs to get game time. He just needs to build up strength and fitness, and so does Chiesa, so does Pellegrini. I feel like with our attackers, Lucci, I feel like I worry every time someone tackles them. You know what I mean? And I just need them to be strong. Like Barella, that any day of the week we've got a game, Barella can play. He can play 80 games a year. And there's a lot of games in the current schedule, and Barella can handle that. So can some of the other players, but a lot of our team can't handle it. And it's impacting us, isn't it? So hopefully we can get everyone on the pitch. We're going to have Malta. Like I said, we're expecting a nice little easy win against Malta next time. If we can't beat Malta, then we need to call it a day, don't we, fella? And just we need to call it a day if we can't beat Malta. And then back at Wembley, where all them emotions came out and we became European champions a year later in 2021. And so, we'll be back at the very latest next month looking at Italy against England and recapping that and seeing how Luciano Spaletti gets on and what evolutions or tinkering he does to his squad. Our latest Tinkerman, maybe there's room for Ranieri if he fails. What do you think, Jose? He'll buy everyone pizza if they keep a clean sheet, won't he? He does the impossible.
No,
you know what I mean? Leicester.
But
He's Roman, isn't he?
I mean, that's that's Italy. I think it's too early to be, going into it too much. Let's see. It's one of them. Let's see what he brings to the table. But we wish him well. But the proof will be in the pudding, and we'll see how he gets on. But let's turn our attentions to United. I mean, there's been a couple of things that have happened over the international break. First one, Sancho. Second one, Antony. I mean, I've got to be honest with you. The Sancho thing, you can kind of see it coming. And I've tried to back Sancho. I've tried to say that, I think that he will come good. And, watching him live, especially, I think he's got good movement, Sancho. But I've had a lot of conversations, and people just aren't really, they don't seem to be backing him. I think the fact that Ten Hag has come out publicly and not backed him and said he's not training or whatever, I think that's a massive indication of where this relationship's going. And it looks to me that Sancho's staring out the exit doors. Now, Antony is a different proposition altogether.
Just come into Sancho first.
Potentially that's two massive players for United who we could miss. We've got a lot of injuries at the moment.
Yeah, just on the Sancho, so I was quite positive with him because what I like about Sancho is the way he plays football, the way he takes the touch, the way when he gets into the advanced positions as a winger, the way he doesn't play percentage balls, but he feeds people, he cuts back, he sees the passes, he sees the picture. This is what we're seeing at Dortmund. The way he was attacking people. But at United, he's mainly been used off the left, which I don't know because I've not spoken to him myself, but that seems to be the place he favours. Not good enough. Not good enough. If you're on the left, right, you need to be close to goal, threatening the goal, as an inside left forward who's not a provider, because he's not a provider on the left. It's the goal scoring threat. And for me, he just lacks it. And there was a game against Atletico, I think it was, last year, where under Ragnick, where he was, 2 years ago, sorry, and he's completely on the touchline and he was a million miles away from goal. And every time he got the ball, he's just playing it safe. And he seems like a futsal player. There's a bit of a futsal player. He's going for the nutmegs. What are you doing? Yeah? You're trying to get on match of the day. Soccer AM's over, isn't it? Soccer AM, what did they used to have? What did they used to do? Soccer AM.
They used to do the little Megs thing, didn't they?
No, what was it called? Yeah, they did the Megs thing, but what was that other thing called? Where they did tricks?
Oh, Showboat.
Showboat.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's over. Soccer AM's over, Sancho. Showboat's over. What are you doing, right? Do you know what I want to see? I want to see productivity. I want to see you penetrating people. I want to see you linking up. I want to see on the pitch, right? Now, for me, under Solskjaer, not good enough, disappointing. But maybe he could have brought you in early when we were battering teams, and maybe you would have started on fire, and it could have had a continuation. Under Ragnick, I didn't see anything, and under Ten Hag, I don't want to hear anything. You've got to say, look, ultimately, there's no way I'm going to sit here and downplay mental health. It's extremely important, but you're in the mental games. You're getting paid, right, extortionate amounts of money, right, for your mental strength, because football at a level, a level where people are getting paid, they can all play, but who's consistent? It's the mental games, right? And so I don't want to hear really too much of, he talked about, some of the issues that I've had. And I know that Dele Alli, he had some serious issues going on there. So listen, there may be stuff in the background, right, going on. But all I'm saying is, right, no matter what struggles I might go through, you put me on the pitch with a football, yeah, I kiss football. You know what I mean? You turn into you're a football player, you're playing and you listen to the coach's instruction. And what it comes down to, Sancho, not been good enough, yeah? Step your game up, show some value, right? You don't need to talk about, I might want to leave. Just go. Shh, just go. And as for Antony, again, guy was a match winner in Amsterdam. In terms of the whole, first of all, the kind of cases, the accusations, you can't put all the abuse cases in the same bracket, right? Everything has to be taken on its own merit. It's no longer a case of someone said took me in and it was a bit kind of feminist, and therefore what we need to do is we need to suspend them like we suspended Greenwood. Not everything's a Greenwood case. With Greenwood, we heard substantial evidence, right, that showed what was going on was just completely unacceptable in outside of jail. It's not acceptable, right? And so ultimately the club is in a different position. With Antony, we've got allegations, we've got extortion attempts, and I don't really know how that plays out. But again, with Antony, what I need to see from you, continue to do your work at the back and be confident, because that's what he needs. He works off confidence. Casemiro, they asked him who would he like to be on his team when they're training. He said he likes Antony. I mean, Antony does look like there's levels he can get to. You know, when you can score from 35, 40 yards as he can, his left foot, he's a finisher. But he does need to do a bit more. I just feel like, in terms of United, I feel like they're probably going to handle this wrong because they've been handling everything else wrong. I probably want to see Diallo in there, but I suspect with United, the right way to go, if everyone can get fit. I mean, United, everyone has injuries. I get that, right? But Italy, slew of injuries. United, we've got Højlund with an injury, Amrabat with an injury. You know, Bayern injured. Terrible. But if we can get Amrabat and Casemiro, I think Mount would be better served off the right flank ahead of Antony. Get Antony out of the spotlight. Antony can have good moments and bad games. Mason Mount will, I think, up there, he's going to do no damage, but he's going to add to the team. On the left-hand side, Rashford, Bruno, and then up top, Højlund. And if Højlund's not available, then maybe Martial. Look, Sancho, you know, for me, you just haven't done enough to take Rashford from his spot. You're not above Garnacho, yeah? I'd have Mount ahead of you on the right-hand side. I actually think you're good on the right, because when you get to the right-hand side, like I said, he doesn't just he doesn't waste the ball. He has a vision to pick out passes. You can be impactful with a good centre forward if you play on the right. I'm not convinced with him as a false nine. And so I think my overall reaction to United is, you know, we need obviously bodies playing, but in terms of Sancho, it's like you either, I think it sounds a bit cruel, but you either step your game up, work your backside off for not just an aspirational opportunity that you have. It's a 1 in a billion opportunity you have to be the main guy at United. We've gone out, we waited a year. We almost paid 120 million for you. Could you imagine 120 million for this guy? Honestly, what would you pay for him right now? His market value must be like 22 million.
To be fair, I think you're being a bit hard. I think you're going a bit over on Sancho. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not been perfect. We bought him for 70 odd million. First of all, the price tag's got nothing to do with the player. That's just what the market value is. And United have always overpaid. I don't think we should have paid 60 for Mount. That's my opinion. I just think we overpaid for these players. There's no doubt that Sancho's quality. We've seen it at City. We've seen it at Dortmund.
I am doubting aspects of his quality, though.
We've seen flashes of it at United.
Yeah.
We've seen flashes
in front of goal.
We saw the goal
against Liverpool.
We saw the goal against Liverpool. We
Chelsea.
saw the goal against City. He scored some big goals.
Yeah.
He's had some good games. But for me, with Sancho, he's not really had that consistent run. That's all it's been. He's not had that consistent run. But you could arguably say that Antony's not had that consistent run. The difference is that the manager, you can tell that the manager backed him. He wanted him. He's bought him in. With Sancho, he's not Ten Hag's buy, and I think there is a bit of an issue there. They're obviously, butting heads kind of thing. But in terms of Sancho, he has shown moments of brilliance. Do I want him to start on the left hand side? No, not right now, because you've got Rashford and you've got Garnacho there. But I don't want to write the guy off. But I just think that you can't be coming out and saying these things publicly. What Sancho has done by directly responding to what Ten Hag's done, I think he's just breached the code of United. And I think that kind of behaviour...
Well, it's breached the professional code of conduct.
Well, the thing is United this leaks from the change room and all the rest of it. I thought we'd stamp that out under Ten Hag, and Sancho seems to have brought that back. So for me, there could be a fundamental issue where he gets gone. In terms of the Greenwood thing, I don't want to make a comment on the Greenwood situation. And the reason why I don't want to make a comment on it is because what we heard, or the evidence that was out there, was edited. That's what we do know. It was edited. So I don't know what's real and what isn't. All what I want to say is, in terms of Greenwood, he's a young lad. He's got a child on the way. It looks like he's getting married. I don't know the full picture. He's obviously made some mistakes, which he's held his hands up and said, I just hope
don't
that
the word mistakes, to be honest.
I just hope that he takes this second opportunity from a footballing perspective, pure and simple. And I hope that he can salvage his career, if you want to call it that. Whether he's got a career at United remains to be seen. In terms of Antony's a likeable guy because he has got the flair. There's no doubt about it. And you know that if he starts becoming a bit more confident, starts getting on his left foot, his right foot a bit more, there's a player in there and he can do incredible things. But I think his consistency, because of his price tag, and obviously these allegations that have come out, I think that Antony, for the foreseeable future, is not going to be in the side. So it's all about Ten Hag now trying to manage his squad. And the big overarching theme that's going over United that's hindered our start and is probably going to hinder our season until it's sorted is the takeover.
Yeah, I mean, where do you think we're going to finish in the league? Just how do you think the season's going to pan out? We've got Brighton this week and Bayern Munich coming.
I'm not really optimistic.
In fact, I think the next few fixtures are nasty. Like you say, Brighton are a tough. They're a tough team for anybody.
They're a tough outfit because they play good football.
Exactly. No, I completely agree. And
I think
it doesn't matter who they lose.
I would like to play Bayern Munich.
It doesn't matter who they lose. They're a team.
Yeah.
You know what you're saying about City a couple of weeks ago? They're a team that a guy comes in, the next guy comes up, and it's like, where did they get this guy from?
They've just always had that consistent.
Just looking at our fixtures, we've got Brighton Brighton at home, Bayern away, and then we go to Burnley away, Crystal Palace, twice EFL and League, then Galatasaray. So it's these next two games really, but I feel like looking at the season ahead, I've not written off United from having a good season. I think obviously it's a stuttering start.
What's a good season for you though?
I think a good season for me, we would have to reconsolidate in the top four. I mean, again, what I said last year was all Ten Hag needed to do is not get sacked. I feel like...
Are we going to have a better season this season than we did last season?
Well, I think last season, if you're looking at it in totality, it's hard not to give him a B+. You know, given what he was given...
People.
No, what do you think?
No, I like it. I like the
what do you think? Because he's come in there, we've got no striker. They give him...
I want to give him an A- for the way he was coming out and the way he's been with the media. I think he's been first class with the media.
Listen,
and the community.
I'm a big fan. If we're talking about how I feel about him, you know, I'm not saying, give him a contract and put whatever figure on it. I'm not going to go down that road, but no. I'm certainly hoping that this is the guy that's going to be there for the next 10, 15 years. He plays a philosophy. He's got a style. He knows how to win. He is a winner. He has won. He's come here and won already. I thought in terms of expectations, I just didn't want him to get sacked, but we've seen him improve our defense with Martinez. And between that dynamic of Martinez, Varane, and what Casemiro brought to the table, you've seen us go from one of the worst structures to one of the strongest in the Premier League last year. You know, there's still lots of ways to go. Our squad's not ready because we really needed a first choice striker and then a guy in Højlund's kind of an up and coming striker to back him up, and we've not got that now. But Højlund looks exciting, you know. So you know, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to. Can we get anything out? Martial, can you give us anything? Can Martial give us anything? Can Højlund stay fit for the season? Can they manage the workload? You know,
where do you think we're going to finish then?
My expectations are that United need to consolidate themselves as a top 4 team this season. The thing is, we can't start talking about where we're going to finish until we get further down the line and see how the season pans out.
So that's
the minimum request.
That's where we've become though. We've become an Arsenal.
Yeah, but do you know
We
what?
want to finish in the top.
No. I'm not saying what we should strive for. What we should strive for is to win every game and try and win the league. That's what we should strive for. And I don't think we're ready to win the league. But what we can do is you can get yourself in the mixer. You can stay in contact. And if City have a wobble or they go into the World Club Cups, and then they come back or they lose a couple of games and all of a sudden there's no longer have Gundogan, they don't have Mahrez, Kevin De Bruyne is injured. What happens if Haaland gets injured? These kind of things. Be ready to take advantage.
What happens if Haaland gets
Be
injured?
ready to take advantage of major issues that could arise there. But if they've got all their horses, are we going to compete? Are we going to have our horses fit? I mean, look, we've got players that ain't even playing. They're removing themselves from the equation. We've got players who don't want to be there like Maguire. We've got players like Sancho.
Based on the squad that we've got right now and our current state of play and what you've seen in the first 4 games, what are your hopes for United this season?
Minimum hope is to finish in the top 4 is my minimum base. And if we don't, it's just going to be massively disappointed. And then I want to see a style of football. And also I want to see us get out of the group in the Champions League. With Galatasaray, Copenhagen, we should be finishing second. And then it depends on our draw. That's what I want to see. I want to see what can United do when they play Bayern in both games. What can we do against some other teams? Can we get out of the groups? And can we consolidate in the top 4? And then it's up to Ten Hag to make the right moves in the transfer window. We're still going to need another striker. And we might need to get another winger if Sancho and Antony, whatever happens with these guys. And we certainly need to get rid of Maguire, even if it just means terminating his contract. And Evans, I'm not really sure about that Evans move at this juncture. Bringing him and Maguire on at the end of the game against Arsenal wasn't a good optic, was it? But top 4 and get out of the Champions League group. That is what my minimum standard is. And then obviously it depends. If we start getting beat 7 or 8-0 against Liverpool or we lose 4-5-0 to City.
Minimum standard is, but I think your minimum standard is probably what everyone's minimum is. It's about where you think we're going to finish in the league. Because I think
we'll finish. I think we're good for top 4 with Ten Hag, and I think we're good for getting out of the group. Then it depends on different things.
My expectations are lower than that. I think top 6 finish, just because I've not enjoyed the way we've started playing football. I don't think the team's gelled.
Do you know what?
I think if Højlund can cement himself as that number 9 at United, then I'm excited. But right now,
not just that.
I've not seen enough.
Not just
and
that.
Then the Antony Sancho situation.
Amrabat's coming to the party. The thing is,
but he's injured. So until he starts playing, and
if you look at last season, right? For me, Onana's an upgrade to De Gea. I like De Gea. I know that's one for a different day. We've done that one, but I think he's an upgrade.
Well, he's an upgrade in terms of his feet.
Defense.
You can't say he's a better shot stopper than De Gea.
Defense. The first that goal, it deflected. So far, I've got no qualms about his shot stopping. For me, there's an upgrade going on there. But I do like De Gea. I don't want to get into all that. I just think that he's made a decision to move on from Maguire. Yeah. Now that whether he does or not, right now he's recognised that he's no good for it, and he's brought.
I don't think bringing Onana in. I think he was good. I think he's good value for money.
Right.
I think it was a good buy, but I don't think that was where our focus should have been. I don't think Mount was where our focus should have been. Our focus should have been to bring in a striker who's going to guarantee you 25 to 30 goals a season. That was there. It was Harry Kane. That's who we should have gone for. That's it. Whichever way you want to look at it.
We get all that, but has the team come forward from last season? Now, last season, when you look at it, we got nothing out of Sancho.
He's changed the goalkeeper, so Onana. So let's say he's an upgrade, okay?
Right. Then, in terms of Sancho, we didn't get much out of him. If we get anything out of him this season, then because I'm looking at where we were last season to this season.
Let's look at who's brought in. So Mount.
I think he's going to bring us something. I think he's going to bring something to the party. He's going to be better than, first of all, what he is. At this juncture, what he is.
Don't forget last season we had Casemiro, we had Sabitzer, we had McTominay, we had Fred.
What Mason Mount... Yeah, well, Fred is...
Is Mason Mount going to come in and do a better job than Fred?
No, but Amrabat will, I think.
I think Amrabat will.
I think he will. But what Mason Mount is...
But if Mason Mount's not going to come in and do a better job than Fred, what have we gone and spent 60 million on him for?
Well, Mason Mount, right now, as it stands, is just an upgrade on Donny van de Beek. He's just not the requisite quality. No, if anything happens to Bruno, You can use Eriksen up there.
45 million we spent on
No. Listen, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, he can go in there. Maybe at some point he can play on the wings as well. He's got that in his locker. The thing is, we need to see his best football. He's missed a couple.
I think on the right hand side, there's an opportunity for him to cement himself in that team, get his fitness right, because he's a top pro. He gets in there, and if he can, and we know he can whip a ball and put some quality in.
If you're playing 55, 60 games, you need squad depth. What Mason Mount's going to give us is going to give us, as long as he starts balling and not missing sitters, he's going to bring that. And you know what? He's already proven. So for me, look, the Mason Mount signing. Who else did we draft in OC? Hoyland. Look, if he can stay fit, Amrabat. And obviously there's question marks over for Johnny Evans, but ultimately I think the squad is moving in the right direction, and therefore, but I don't think it's ready, and we've not gelled enough. But I think the squad's in the right direction. I'm saying minimum I'm expecting, despite these wars, and while we're gelling together. And like I said, the first 4 games we didn't have Hoyland, we didn't have Amrabat. Now we've got them. Let's see what we can do. But try and stay in touch. You don't want to be like. Having a Liverpool season,
we need to be in the mixer. I've just not been. I was really excited for the season, and I've just not been overly excited with the. It's the way we've played. It's the way we've played. Forget the team dynamics, the tactics. It's just the way we've played. I've not been feeling it, and against Arsenal in particular, I can't sit here and say, it's the worst United performance I've seen, because we still could have potentially won that game. But I feel like we've just got a lot more to offer, and I just feel that for me with Ten Hag, I do like him. I like the way he comes across, but my concerns have been this transfer window, this opportunity to strengthen the squad and kick us on from third to maybe challenging. That's what I was looking for, maybe challenging. Now, maybe challenging for me was that striker. Now, Hoyland could be that striker, and I just hope he hits the ground running the way I think he could, because if he could, that's a serious, exciting talent right there that we could see just be a perfect match for Manchester United. Then he's chased Mason Mount, and I'm just thinking to myself, with all the dynamics in the team, the fact that we've got Amrabat in now, I'm happy we've got Mount, because I think Mount now makes sense. But before we had Amrabat, we should have gone for Amrabat first. And it's that kind of decisions. The fact that he's gone for Onana for a long period of the transfer market, we were closed off until that deal was over the line. De Gea, for me, last season, he was an incredible shot stopper. Now, I know we want to play football from the back and through the keeper, but in order for that to work, you have to have all the pieces in place. Now, if your midfield ain't right, and if your centre-backs isn't right, or you've not strengthened, there was talk about Alaba coming in. Varane, as great as he is,
injury risk.
If he's an injury risk, then we need to be looking at extra cover there. Now, I think Lindelof stepped up me last season, and I'm confident with him now being there to step in. But you get another injury, or you get a suspension, and you lose a Martinez.
I think fundamentally we've got some issues with the defence because. Look, when Martinez, Varane and Casemiro are there, it's happy Mondays, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've even got Shaw who's coming and stepping in there. But quite frankly, we've started the season.
Shaw's a big miss.
Martinez is coming off the back of a big injury. Varane has already told you he doesn't want to play any injury time, which I understand, right? But we're concerned about him playing just 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't think a striker would have just got us there. I think we needed a few more pieces. We could have done with adding a defender, and we would have got Pavard if Maguire would have done one. Yeah. And he didn't. Maguire just dug his heels in and said, I'm going to get a big fat check because Gareth Southgate's going to pick me every week. But where Mason Mount's going to bring value at some juncture, as long as he can sort himself out, this is where he's going to add value. Sancho, not been good enough. Antony, inconsistent. For me, our best attacking winger is Garnacho, but Garnacho clearly better making an impact coming off the bench, right? And pick up the rhythm of the game. What Mount can do is give you better than Sancho work ethic and output, and give you better than Antony work ethic and output. So straight away, and then what he'll do, he'll join in with the team play, but of course he's not going to play deeper like an Amrabat will. But look, I mean, ultimately, we've got to see how this pans out. If we don't have the players...
Brighton, Bayern Munich, what do you think?
The fact that we're playing Brighton at home gives us more of an opportunity.
Yeah,
If we were going,
good at
if
home,
we
but
were
away,
going
it's
to go away, we could have got a good beating, and it all comes down to who's available. But if all our horses are ready to go, and I know Hoyland's ready to go, then and Rashford, with what Hoyland does and having a centre forward does,
it'll free up Rashford.
It releases Rashford, and then do you know what? If Antony can't,
then you've got a different dynamic going forward.
If Antony can't play, and if Sancho can't play, well, I'm not going to be upset if Diallo plays. I'm waiting for him.
What about putting Garnacho on the right?
I'm waiting for Diallo. I'd almost want Diallo. I know there's a hierarchy, so you probably go Garnacho, but I almost want Diallo and then bring Garnacho on for 30 minutes to go. Just how I've seen things, but I've got no problem putting Garnacho on the right. At some point, he's getting bigger, he's getting stronger. At some point, he has to make that step up. But the first 2 games of the season said to us, I'm not sure that I'm ready, because we know he's ready for United. He's ready to make a difference. He's more ready than Sancho and Antony, at the very least mentally. He's ready for it. Yeah. But is he grasped all the things he needs to do? But look, at the end of the day, in terms of Brighton, we're at home. We should get the win. And against Bayern, I wouldn't rule us out. I know it seems far-fetched, Mr. Optimist. I know it seems far-fetched, but I feel like Ten Hag is a good enough manager to give us a plan like he did against City and keep you in the game. And I think we've got the players. What we don't have is the squad. And if we're having to bring on Maguire and Evans, I'd like to retract that we have an opportunity. But if we, you know what I mean? If he pulls out Varane and Martinez, Casemiro and Amrabat and Højlund and Rashford, if we play up, and that's where we are with United. The base is right now. The moves are passed in the window, but the squad, depending on who goes down. When Eriksen went down, that hurt us last season. When Casemiro was getting suspended, that hurt us. Who's going to be available? Are we going to have to go in the market again for a Weghorst in January? Oh, he scored again. He scored the other day. I saw. I'm like, can you believe this guy's finally scoring? Anyway,
Buonanotte.
JJ Baggio and Luciano till Wembley, when we return to the scene of once we held that trophy with Vialli and Mancho. R.I.P. Vialli and grazie Mancho. Until next time, guys, thanks very much. Drop a like if you wouldn't mind, and see you next time.